Okay, so in this video, I'm going to explain the benefits of sauna, but there might be many other videos like this that talk about the benefits. But in this video, I'm going to get the statistics about the benefits, and I will explain in more detail how the benefits actually work. So I'm going to zoom in from here. So this is the study, first of all. This is a study. This is the name of the study. You can look it up. And this is the link. I will also put it in the description as well if you want to check it out for yourself. And I've made a summary here of the findings of this research. So first thing we'll look at is input design. So it's about 2,316 people, 20-year follow-up period, and this is the exposure frequency. This is like the most important part. So once a week, 22 times a week, and then 47 times a week. And this is the data they've got. So people who use a sauna once a week, they've not really seen a change. The one who use it 2 to 3 times a week, they've seen a 30% reduction in their risk. And the ones that use it 4 to 7 times a week, they've seen a 66% reduction in their dementia risk. It's a similar story for Alzheimer's as well. People who use the sauna most, they've seen a 65% reduction in the Alzheimer's risk, which is bigger reduction. So we're looking detail what the mechanism is, how they get into the reductions. There's a slight error there, to be honest. It should say 2 to 3, but it's 2 to 2, but just ignore that for now. So this is what the data says. So we'll look into the mechanisms behind it, which I've made a diagram as well for it. So these are 3 different pathways where you can how you can get the benefits, and I'll break them down on that one. The first thing we can look at is the vascular function, which is because of the increased heart rate, which acts as like cardio, which improves the endothelial function, which then reduces arterial stiffness and is better circulation around the body. So how does it actually work? I've made a diagram so you can understand in like a more visual way. And I'll calm down. Okay, this is it. So once you sit in the sauna, it starts to pump more blood throughout the body, but more especially towards the skin to cool it down, which means your brain's getting more oxygen and everything else because of increased blood flow. And another adaptation takes place, which is endothelium layer, which is the layer that is inside of your vessels, which allows the blood to glide through. So sort of like a non-stick pan, so the blood doesn't get sticky and it can't go up. It just glides through. If the layer is damaged or not well, then your heart would struggle to pump more blood. It would have to work harder to get it through. So this layer starts to improve, which is really important. So if you combine these two, your brain is getting more blood and it's getting it in an easier fashion, which leads to improved brain function. So this is one of the proposed mechanisms. Next thing we look at is reduce inflammation from heat shock proteins, which leads to cellular repair and lower systematic inflammation. So how does that work? It's a bit another diagram for this. Similar story again. Once you go sit in the sauna, a different things take place this time. The proteins in your cell, they start to deform because of the high temperature. Once they start to deform, your body responds to that and it releases heat shock proteins. So the job of these little protein soldiers is to fix the other proteins that have become deformed. And while they're there, they also do a cleanup job. So they also clean the cell and also fix the damaged proteins. So the cleaning on the cell is what leads to removal of this plaque that can build up in the brain over many years. So if you use this one often, these little soldiers would come into your cells more often and they would clean up the cells more often, which means it is less plaque in the brain, which means the brain can function properly for longer periods of time. So that's the other proposed mechanism. And then there's this last one here, reduce blood pressure, which is sweating and fluid loss leads to lower resting blood pressure and improved vagal tone. Let's see how that works. And when you use this diagram, so if in the sauna you get heated up, you begin to sweat, and this lowers the blood pressure alongside. How does that work? Just all of a sudden blood pressure gets low? No, not exactly. This diagram explains in more detail. For a normal person who doesn't work out or do any of the exercises, your arteries become more stiff. These are not really being used. But once you sit in the sauna, your blood flow increases throughout the body. These arteries have to adapt and become more flexible to be able to carry that blood to different organs. And because of this adaptation, now blood can flow through easy, which then leads to lower blood pressure in the long run because the heart's not having to work as hard to supply blood throughout the body. So this is what leads to lower blood pressure. And the next thing is the improved vagal tone, which is also an interesting thing. So the vagal tone is a switch that allows you to switch between a fight and fight response to a more relaxed environment. So, but sometimes the switch can become laggy. For example, let's say you've had a busy morning and quite stressed out, but you may still feel the same way in the afternoon. The feeling's still lingering around. The reason for that is your switch has become sluggish. So if you use the sauna more often, the switch improves. The reason why it improves is because when your temperature of the body increases, it has to come down in order to survive, which means this switch has to work immediately for temperature to come down, which improves the function of this switch. So the more you use the sauna, the more quickly you can switch between these two states, which would help you stay calm over the long run. And then if you combine these two, this is where you get the combined benefits of lower cortisol and lower inflammation throughout the body because of it. So these are the three proposed mechanisms which lead to the data points that you can see a 66% reduction and 65% reduction in these two brain diseases. If you're looking to buy sauna, check out theirvitaflow.com. I'll leave the link in the bio as well. So you can get yourself a home sauna and then you can get all of these benefits from the comfort of the house. This is it. If you like the video, let me know. I can make more of these out of my it. And if you don't like it, then also let me know that I can change my format. But yeah, that's it for today, guys. See ya.